एतद्यतोर्चित्तानां मातरिस्पर्शाय मुहुः भवसिन्धु प्रभो दृष्टो हरिचर्यानुवर्णनम्. So, this Nagmuni is telling to Vasudeva, and this is Vyasdev, and this is kind of his conclusion. He is telling it is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties, due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects, can cross the ocean of nescience on a most suitable boat, the constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. ठीक है, it is 1634, 1.6.34. Very beautiful, this conclusion from Narada Muni to Vyasdev. So he's telling all the people, those who want contact of senses with sense object, they are always full of cares and anxieties. So they always have these concerns. When it will happen, how it will happen, and then they want to plan it in that way. And then whatever happens after the interaction, again they are full of anxiety. Why proper interaction could not take place? Why what I wanted, that much happiness I could not get? Because always we see materially, our mind anticipates more happiness. But when we interact with a sense object, the happiness is much less. So then again, that kind of unhappiness comes. He's telling that a person who is trapped like this, so he can cross over this ocean of nescience on a suitable boat. That is the constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada is writing, the symptom of a living entity is that he cannot remain silent even for some time. Because soul by nature is very active. Can you imagine when the soul is being trapped by this body, which is full of ignorance? Still a person is so active. Still a soul always feels that, kuch karna hai, kuch karna hai, kuch karna hai, like that. So he's telling the symptom is that he cannot remain silent even for a moment also. So he must be doing something. Someone may say, Prabhuji, मैं कुछ नहीं करता हूँ, तो वो सोचेगा. Right? If nothing he is doing, then he will think of something or talk about something like this. And we have seen our mind, how active it is. Always, uh, thousands of thoughts they cross over our mind. And all our mind is like, so much 24/7, very much active. Thinking, planning, discussing, imagining, assuming, predicting, concluding. So whatever, mind is like always very active. Sometimes we take day rest, but our mind is not taking rest. Sometimes in day rest also mind will have some thoughts and then it will connect to some dream also sometimes. Like that. We're telling the soul by nature is very active. Generally, the materialistic man think and discuss about subjects which satisfy their senses. But as these things are exercised under the influence of external and illusory energy, such sensual activities do not actually give them any satisfaction. Because soul by nature is very spiritual, is spirit. So when we try to discuss and connect with the material sense objects of this world, the interaction happens with the sense objects, but the satisfaction does not take place. So Prabhupada in one place says a very beautiful thing. He says, because material energy comes from Krishna, so material energy also is attractive because it is coming from Krishna, but it cannot satisfy because it is a separated energy of the Lord. Krishna can attract and satisfy. Material energy can attract but cannot satisfy. Very beautifully, Srila Prabhupada says. On the contrary, they become full with cares and anxieties. This is called Maya or what is not. Like this. So this is how the material energy functions. We don't get happiness, but we get anxiety. and we become full of these anxieties, these concerns. And then always there are plan making, always, a person is thinking about it. Because somehow or other in a conditioned stage, and the way material energy and material mind functions, always the sense objects, they captivate our attention, they captivate our intelligence, they captivate our thought process. So always the older person repeatedly met frustration, but again he makes a plan to go for sense gratification. Again, the material mind, material energy will advertise that in this way you can be happy. And people is telling this is called Maya. That which cannot give them satisfaction is accepted as subjective satisfaction. Something which cannot make us happy is seen as an object which can make us happy, and that is termed here as Maya, material energy. So it's not very easy because of our mind being conditioned and being in a bodily consciousness of life. Although now theoretically we know, but still when the sense objects they come in front, mind forgets the philosophy. And then mind will jump on to enjoy the sense objects like this. But he does not get satisfaction. In fact, the agitation increases more. Uh, So that is the nature of mental sense gratification. When you are not satisfied, mind will say increase the dose, have more. Like that. Then also you are not satisfied, then mind will say have more frequently. Previously you were drinking only in the evening, now please drink morning also, afternoon also. Previously you were drinking only one glass, now you drink two glasses also. So there is no satisfaction, but then this is how the mind keeps. And person is so heavily trapped in this kind of illusion created by the mind that he spoils everything like that. So I think best way what is mentioned in the scripture is to not allow this interaction with the sense object to happen at the very first place only. Like there are some items which you might not have eaten till now in your life. Even though you may see them, but you are not forced to have them. Why? Because your mind does not have previous experience of that sense object. Like I remember we went to इटावा, तो इटावा में वो ऐसे एक बहुत बड़ा सा फूला हुआ पुल था कुछ, तो बहुत सारी दुकानों पे था. नेचुरली सबका अटेंशन गया कि क्या चीज है, लेकिन कभी किसी ने खाया नहीं था तो बहुत ज्यादा उसके लिए फीलिंग नहीं आ रहा था. लेकिन वहां इटावा के वक्ता से मिले तो उन्होंने खाया था. तो प्रभु जी क्या टेस्टी रहता है ये, प्रभु जी लेके आते हो, मजा रहे रहने दो, रुको रुको. Like that. So that is why Vedic life was keep less sense objects because they will create such horrible trouble for us that's very difficult. Like that. The less sense objects we interact with, then that much less will be agitated, that much less anxiety we will have. Otherwise, a person becomes full of anxiety. There is one person whom we had called to Mayapur, and he's a big businessman. So he never had an experience of being outside AC. Generally, he would be in house AC, company AC, car AC. But in Mayapur, you have to come out to take darshan and all. तो इतना पसीना पसीना हो गया, बोला सर लेके चलिए, सर लेके चलिए, कितना गर्मी है यहाँ, कितना गर्मी. मैं सोच रहा था कि even if someone becomes a rich, then that becomes a disqualification to take mercy of the Lord also. He could not stand for 10 minutes also because sweat started coming. Like that. So why? Because he is interacting with so many sense objects, so it becomes very difficult for him to remain without it. That becomes more conditioned. Already we are conditioned, and then we become further conditioned by being surrounded by the sense objects. Just imagine if someone is getting very opulent food to eat, and then one day he is not getting same. How much mind will become disturbed? Right? Sometimes you see persons becomes very disturbed. क्या बना है? Because he is used to eat a certain diet like that. So that's how the sense objects they trouble a living entity. So Nagman is telling that this can only go by chanting the glories of the holy names of the Lord. No one can check the thinking activities, feeling, willing, or working process. But if one wants actual happiness, one must change the subject matter. Instead of talking of politics of a dying man, one might discuss the politics administered by the Lord Himself. Instead of relishing activities of the cinema artist, one can turn his attention to the activities of the Lord with his eternal associates like the gopis and Lakshmi. The Almighty Personality of Godhead, by His causeless mercy, descends to the earth and manifests activities almost on the line of the worldly man, but at the same time extraordinary because He is Almighty. Prabhupada is telling that instead of discussing about politics or cinema, one can turn to the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So that is why they should try their best to hear the pastimes of the Lord, and they should also try to go and understand the details of those pastimes. We should have that kind of inquisitiveness that I want to know the whole pastime. Like I got to read Valmiki Ramayana, 3, 4 books I had read, but in my heart I wanted to read the original one. Like what is what are actual pastimes which are mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana, so that you feel more satisfaction and you feel more happy that yeah, ऐसा हुआ था वाल्मीकि रामायण में लिखा है, like that. So like that we should also have this feeling that I want to know more about these pastimes. At what age Krishna did what? There's one devotee, Pavaneshwar in Chapati. So he had this desire. I want to know chronologically that at what time which pastime took place. So obviously there is a Gopal Champu written by Jiva Goswami. In that chronologically he speaks the past tense, but not all are mentioned. So he is writing one book that at what age Krishna did what. So he has that inquisitiveness. So he is reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Gopal Champu, then Lalit Madhav, Virat Madhav, and some Puranas, because certain details are mentioned in certain Puranas. To know the details of Krishna's pastimes and to compile them in a book where you will know at what age Krishna did what, like that. Because Sukdev Goswami was speaking on Bhava platform, so he was not keeping a track like that. Chronologically, he was not speaking. Whatever was coming, he was just speaking. And sometime in between, Parishit Maharaj would question, then he would take to some other U-turn. And then from there, some other conversation would come. From there, some other conversation. And sometimes we also are lost, this section is going on. But this devotee had this desire and he's doing that. So, like that, a devotee should have desire. I want to know about, more about the Lord or more about the devotees. Like about Srila Prabhupada, we should have desire. I want to read all the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. How, because every interaction what Prabhupada had, every talk which Prabhupada had was very special. Whatever conversation Prabhupada had, it is preaching also, and it is refuting very strongly the negative concepts, and it is very nourishing also for us. That is why as devotees we can try our best when we read scriptures, try to remember certain details of the pastimes, try to remember certain aspects of the pastime. So then we become more captivated by those pastimes. There is one devotee, he was sharing that he is a brahmachari in ISKCON Pune. So he was sharing that he does regular sadhana and all, but sometimes because he feels the need. So what he does is for 6-7 days, he will go to farm community and for 8 hours non-stop he will read Bhagavatam. And he would say, I will read one section only, like suppose Prahlad Maharaj, and for 7 days, 8 hours daily, that section only. She was telling after 8 days in dreams also that section only would come. Like that. Because you have to spend that energy, invest that energy for that pastime to enter in your consciousness. Like that. What Gaurang Guru would do was, he would read one particular section, he would make notes, he would prepare. You might have seen Gaurang Guru's notes, right? Bhagavatam sections notes. You have not seen? Okay, I cannot show you also. But anyway, he would make notes. So he would make notes, he would prepare that section, and then wherever he would go, he would speak from that section only. Right. So for a week, that particular section only he would speak. So now you see, he is reading it, he is speaking it, and multiple times he is repeating it. So then how much the particular pastime goes in the consciousness. And that is how then our thinking, feeling, willing can change. Like generally, it is not easy to bring a mind into the subject matter. Yeah. Sometimes we may bring our intelligence to the subject matter, but it is not easy to bring the mind. I suppose there are exam happening now, and you are preparing very hard for the exam. So your intelligence is there in the preparation, right? But your mind may not be there. Your mind will be thinking, एक बार खत्म हो गया ना पास, इसके बाद घर में जाऊंगा, ये करूंगा, वो करूंगा. So to bring mind to the activity is not easy. लेकिन सपोज आपका मैरिज होना है, उसमें माइंड भी इन्वॉल्व रहेगा सिलेक्शन प्रोसेस में, राइट? इंटेलिजेंस तो इन्वॉल्व रहेगा ही, कितने फीट की हाइट है उसकी, कौन से घर से है, लेकिन माइंड भी रहेगा, कैसी है, कैसे बोलती है, कैसे चलती है, कैसे हंसती है, लाइक दैट. एक डिवोटी बता रहे थे कि आ, जब कोई लड़का एक लड़की की हंसी को देखता है तो उसकी हंसी बंद हो जाती है, इसलिए उसका नाम पड़ जाता है हंस बंद, हंस बैंड. उसमें माइंड इन्वॉल्व रहता है क्योंकि बहुत ज्यादा वो करती है उसमें. Same way to bring mind to the pastime of the Lord is not easy. So when we fill our consciousness with so much inputs about Krishna, then the mind also comes like that. So this, and to make it happen, we need to take more input because we are in a conditioned stage. So because we are in conditioned stage, when you take more input, then mind बोलता है भैया इतना क्या हो गया इसको, लात मारा लात मारा लात मारा, फिर माइंड सोचने लग जाता है लात मारा लात मारा. लेकिन आप थोड़ा सा इनपुट लो उसको तो माइंड जो बाउंड्री को भी रिजेक्ट कर देता है. चल क्या प्रहलाद महाराज, यहाँ पर देखो आपको क्या बताता हूँ मैं इंद्र तृप्ति के बारे में. तो अंदर ही वही बड़ा पड़ा है और कृष्णा कॉन्सियसनेस तो बाउंड्री पे उसने रिजेक्ट कर दिया. एंड देन वी हियर प्रहलाद महाराज एंड देन थॉट्स कम ऑफ सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन. देन डिवोटी से प्रभु जी मैं तो आज 16 माला जप किया, फिर आधा घंटा हियरिंग किया, फिर आधा घंटा रीडिंग किया, फिर मैं सोया, फिर लस्टी थॉट आया, क्या करूं मैं. Why? Because our consciousness is not drained, is not drawn in spiritual life. In the Vedic time, you see in the Gurukul setting, whole day they were engaged either in Guru Seva or hearing. The hearing was not much in our Vedic Gurukul time. Only in the morning, half an hour, 1 hour, the Guru would speak. Whole day they would contemplate on that verse which they have read. Whole day. And they were not in touch with any material energy. No gadgets, no internet, no facilities, no Maya. So because of which they would become very much spiritual. The consciousness would become very spiritualized. Like that. In our case, you see, we do some sadhana in the morning, and while doing sadhana also, mind is not in the present. Mind jumps past, future. Somehow other we do 1 hour, 2 hour sadhana. And then we see whole day goes as a struggle to not allow sense gratificatory thoughts to come. In between, still some sense gratification opportunity come. We may do that also. And then whole day goes in that way. Sometimes thought process also may not be so spiritual. And then sometimes our material attachments, material desires, material likings, material conditionings, they may take over. So that is why although we are doing bhakti, but the impact is very slow. The impact is very gradual. But when we fill ourselves more with the activities of the Lord, pastimes of the Lord, with absorption means mind should be involved. Then it has a lot of purification like this. So how mind can be absorbed? One thing is whenever we get some great opportunities, when some great sannyasi has come, and there is opportunity to have long shravanam, then we should try our best to take part in such opportunities. Or we can organize some Ekadasi day or something where whole day you either chant or you do reading like that. One Ekadasi I tried, I read one, I heard, I read this, there is one book on celibacy. So that is by Sivananda Sen, not Sivananda Sen, Sivananda Chidananda Swami. He is a Mayavadi sannyasi. So Radhe Prabhu had given that book. He speaks very nice about maintaining celibacy. So in that one thing he says is when you don't speak, then your consciousness turns inward. When you speak, then the consciousness goes more outward. So the consciousness goes more inward, and then you become very humble because you understand that how fallen I am. And then you can work more on yourself, like that he had mentioned. And also, I had heard that if you take up only spiritual inputs and you don't have any material things, then you can experience some spiritual happiness. So one Ekadasi, I did Mohan Vrat without telling anyone. So that Ekadasi, I just chanted. I did not speak to anyone, and I chanted 64 rounds. Then I went to there is one office in temple. So I went to that office. That office, no one comes. It is my office, but hardly I go there. Always remains closed only. So I just went inside. Then whole day I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam. And then night again I was chanting. I did not sleep that night also. So morning 3 a.m. till next day 5:30 or 6 a.m. So I completed the next day rounds also the previously only in the night only. So I attended next day Mangal Aarti. After that I went for taking a rest. So that experience of 24 hours was like very special because there was no touch with material energy and only holy name and Srimad Bhagavatam. So I felt very happy like that. Satyanarayana Swami Maharaj writes, if you chant whole night on Ekadasi day, then you can lift your consciousness 10,000 or 1 lakh light years ahead. Something like that, he writes. But obviously, Srila Prabhupada, I read the conversation. Prabhupada said, we don't remain awake on Ekadasi day because we have services. So, Srila Prabhupada wanted us to sleep. But occasionally, if someday you want to try, so then actually you can experience. Otherwise, always these feelings will come spiritually. I'm not getting nourished. Spiritually, nothing is happening because it is there, but then that way we are not able to connect. And there is a natural tendency in the mind that for material things, he comes in present. Like you bring Gulab Jamun in front, no past, no future, present. But the moment you take holy name, past and future. The moment you have Bhagavatam, past and future. And this mobile also has reduced our span like that. Mobile also has created a problem like this. So sometimes to experience spiritual happiness, we also have to try like that. If you try, then you can experience that kind of spiritual happiness like that, where you whole day are spiritual only like that. I think one Ekadasi we can try. And together it will be possible also. थोड़ी तो आदत चला गया पहले से प्लान करके होता है वो तो ट्राई कर पाए कब है नेक्स्ट एकादशी 17 को है नहीं कब है 17 को है 17 ओके अच्छा आप तो चले जाओगे ईशान प्रभु नहीं रहेंगे अलग प्रभु रहेंगे बाकी डिवोटीज रहेंगे ठीक है 17th ट्राई कर सकते हैं कृष्णा विलिंग प्लस यू विल फील वेरी हैप्पी sometimes when you have to go beyond your mental limits. If you don't try to go beyond your mental limits, then mind will always try to cut down your spiritual life. So Ekadasi, these spiritual days, they are to push and increase our mental limits. And in association, it is very much possible. Alone is difficult. Alone, even if you sit and then sleep will come and then you will sleep. Then whole day you are sleeping only. No one knows also where you are sleeping. But in association, it becomes easy also. Together, devotees can read, together, devotees can chant, and you can have some light prasadam in that same place. In between, they can eat like that. But experience like this, where you can fill your consciousness then actually you can experience spirituality. Whenever some devotees they have this kind of question that I am not feeling that spiritual bliss and happiness, I always feel, because we also have to see that I am also not giving my full. If you see our life, we are trying to be spiritual, at the same time it is a struggle. So because of which, to some degree we are spiritual, but then to some degree we have material consciousness also. But if we take up more seriously, then we can experience. You see all the pastimes in Bhagavatam. Dhruva Maharaj, 6 months, no mobile, no internet, no exam, 24 hours, no sleep, no eating. And then you see 6 months Lord Vishnu came. हमारा भक्ति कैसा है, बीरबल का खिचड़ी है। खिचड़ी ऊपर है, आग नीचे, तो क्या फिर उतना इम्पैक्ट नहीं होता है ऐसे. Same as Vidura Mitra sitting on the bank of river under a tree, no other talk than only about Krishna. And Mitra is speaking and narrating to Vidura. Or Narada and Vyasa, Narada Muni sitting on the bank of Saraswati. Now also, if you go to Badrinath, that place is so isolated. Now also, the exact place where Vyasadeva was sitting, that is the last part of our country. That whole village is known as the Mana village, which is the last village. So that was the place where he was sitting. Can you imagine? Now also it is an outskirt. Now also it is like quite isolated. But during his time, it must be like he may be the alone person there. And the whole environment is so sattvic in Badrinath, means you naturally feel to practice spiritual life, because like very far, very natural, and that whole region is known as a heavenly place. Because before Badrinath, there is a place known as a Josimat. Josimat is the place where this pastime happened, where Hanumanji was sitting as an old monkey and Bhima wanted to cross over that tail wala pastime. So beyond that, it was a Kuvera region. So Badrinath is in the Kuvera region. So that whole is a heavenly place. So such more of goodness, and in that environment he was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, writing Srimad Bhagavatam. So we see that all the people in the scripture, same way you see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, even Grastas and Brahmacharis, no one had any job, always available. They would take prasadam at Jagannath Puri temple, they chose a nice place, free prasadam, or I don't know, that time, I think some payment, and then they would be with the Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu also all day, kirtan, 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 like that. We see that because of such absorption, they had a spiritual absorption or spiritual consciousness. And all the great souls you see who are very spiritual, you will find that they have spiritual absorption. Like His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, wherever he would go, you will find that he will be doing deity worship. He had his personal deities. He would, take them. He would bath them. He would dress them. He would decorate them. Then he would, worship them daily. It is not easy actually. So many deities. You have seen his altar. So many deities, and then he would try to do everything daily. Means how much absorption will be there like that. And then whichever temple he goes, there also he would do. And then whole day, either he is speaking about Krishna, or he is discussing how to increase Krishna consciousness, how to spread Krishna consciousness. So because of it, whole, the absorption would be very spiritual. So when we have this kind of absorption, and then we can have change in the thought process of thinking, feeling, and willing. Then actually you can experience some transformation. You can see how spiritual life can make a change in my life. Otherwise, it becomes little difficult like that. So we should try our best. Famous Prabhupada says that Kaite, Pite, Soite, to whatever degree is possible, we can try to chant Krishna's name. Among all the processes in bhakti also, as you were reading today morning also, that even all other processes of bhakti should be accompanied by chanting holy names of the Lord. And chanting the holy names of the Lord should be taken as a principal method in especially this age. So I have seen sometimes there may be devotees who may be weak in reading books, or who may not be so good in services, but if they are very good in chanting holy names of the Lord, then also Krishna will protect them. But somebody may be good in doing services and other things, but is very weak in chanting, then it's very difficult for him to continue. And you'll find among all things, chanting is most difficult. It is easy to take part in kirtan. It is easy to hear Srimad Bhagavatam also. And it is easy to do duty worship also. But to sit at one place and chant, Babre, is like a big battle which takes place like that. But then, still, if we give and try our best, then slowly, gradually, by the mercy of the Holy Name, we can grow. So here this Mahaprabhu is telling, प्रभु कहे वैष्णव सेवा नाम संकीर्तन गोविंद कर शीघ्र पावे श्री कृष्ण चरण. So when Mahaprabhu was going in South India, he was meeting many devotees. He was taking prasadam at many devotees' house. So naturally they would say, Mahaprabhu, we want to go with you. They said, no, you be here. Then Mahaprabhu, please give some instruction to us. Then Mahaprabhu would tell them that don't worry, do Vaishnav Seva and do Nam Sankirtan. And in that way, soon you will achieve the shelter at Krishna's lotus feet. In Brad Bhagavatamrita, Parishit Maharaj is telling to his dear mother, dear mother, you as well should always worship this young cowherd boy. He is the ocean that yields the nectar of the Ras dance, in which the divine gopis fully surround him, interested by the pure love. You should cherish the desire to be a servant of these gopis. You should constantly worship him in pure love as they did, and you should dedicate yourself to the Sankirtan of his names. So this is Parishit Maharaj telling to Uttara. What happens is Parishit Maharaj, after hearing from Sukdev Goswami, now he comes to Mother Uttara and he says, now I am preparing to leave. So then Uttara, she tells Parishit Maharaj that please tell me also what Sukdev Goswami spoke to you. So in a brief, Parishit Maharaj speaks to Uttara. What he speaks to Uttara, that is Brad Bhagavatamrita. And as a conclusion of that Brad Bhagavatamrita, he says that now you try to take part in the Sankirtan of the names of the Lord, and you try to serve the gopis. In Mukunda Mala Shotat, he is saying, O tongue, please constantly chant the mantra composed of Sri Krishna's names. This is the only mantra for destroying all the enemies. The mantra worshipped by every word of the Upanishads. The mantra that uproots samsara mostly. The mantra that drives away all the darkness of ignorance. The mantra for attaining infinite opulence. The mantra for curing those bitten by the poisonous snake of worldly distress. And the mantra for making one's birth in this world successful. So he's telling that please chant this mantra which is full of Krishna's name. It will destroy all our enemies. Who are enemies? Lust, anger, greed, and illusion. This mantra is worshipped by all the Upanishads. This can uproot the samsara. It can drive away the ignorance. One can attain infinite opulence by going to the spiritual world. The mantra for curing those bitten by the poisonous snake of worldly distress. The mantra can purify our worldly distress, and it can make this life very successful. So Prabhupada has given a very beautiful purport to this. He is telling, a mantra is a sound vibration that delivers the mind from illusion. When a person chants a mantra consisting of Lord's names, his mind is freed of distress and he comes to the state of transcendental peace in God consciousness. Of all such mantras, Haru, the one King Kulsekhara recommends is a Krishna mantra. In other words, one composed of Krishna's name. And that is Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Prabhupada is telling. This Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the means of counteracting the evil effect of Kali. After searching through all the Vedic literatures, one cannot find a method of religion for this age so sublime as the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. One Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Yasomati Nandan Prabhu, so he was telling that how much Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was merciful that he gave the essence of all the Vedic scriptures. He said if it was left on us to find out the essence of the Vedic literatures, it was so difficult. There are 18,000 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, 700 verses in Gita, 24 verses in Ramayana. Then there are 1 lakh verses in Mahabharata. Like that, total verses in the Vedic wisdom comes around 6 lakh. And if you were supposed to find out among these 6 lakh verses, which verse talks about the essence of everything? It was very difficult. But then Mahaprabhu told, Hare Name, Hare Name, Hare Name Kevalam, Kale Naste, Naste, Naste Gatir, Metha. Mahaprabhu said, see, this is the essence. Even if you are not able to read all the Vedic wisdom, but we know the essence. So this is the essence of all the Vedic literature. King Kulsekara declares that the Krishna mantra destroys one's enemies. We find one confirmation of this in the story of Ajamila, who chanted the name Narayana and was protected from the agents of death. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam is mentioned, living beings who are entangled in the complicated messes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by the fear personified. Also, chanting the holy name of Krishna destroys the 6 mental enemies: lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy. Like this. So, we see even Nama Bhas chanting is so pure. Even if somehow or other, by some good fortune, if a person is able to chant Nama Bhas at time of death, then he will get mukti, he'll be liberated. Like that. And if somebody can chant Shuddhanam, then he'll go to Golok Vrindavan, he'll go to the spiritual world. Next, Kulasekara says that the Krishna mantra is worshipped throughout the Upanishads. For the most part, Upanishads describe the personal form of the Lord indirectly. Yet they always point towards Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami reveals this inner meaning of Upanishad. And he says, O Harinama, the tips of the toes of your lotus feet are constantly being worshipped by the glowing radiance emanating from the string of gems known as Upanishad. The crown jewel of all the Vedas, you are eternally adored by the liberated souls such as Narada and Sukdev. O Harinam, I take complete shelter of you. This Krishna mantra also uproots samsara. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, where he states, Bhav Mahadava Agni Nirvapanam, the congregational chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra extinguishes the blazing fire of repeated birth and death. The Krishna mantra is also most effective for driving away the darkness of ignorance. So Mahaprabhu has said, Vidya Vadu Jivanam. Chanting Hare Krishna is the life and soul of transcendental knowledge. Also, the second verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita compares Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, the foremost propagators of chanting Krishna's name, thus to sun and moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Bengal to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow the benediction upon all. Srila Krishna Kaviraj Goswami informs that the material sun and moon are able to dissipate the darkness of the external world. But these two brothers, Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, they can dissipate the darkness of the inner core of the heart. And they help one to meet the two kinds of Bhagavatas, the person or things related to the Supreme Lord. So King Kulasekara glorifies mantra as the bestower of infinite opulence. The most valuable thing, even more valuable than Chintamani stone of this world, is love of Godhead. Simply chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without offenses vanquishes all sinful activities, and thus pure devotion service, which is the cause of love of Godhead, becomes manifest. So the supreme wealth, that is love of Godhead, that is bestowed by the holy names of the Lord. We see that how generally Krishna can give anything and everything, but he hesitates to give love of Godhead, because then he becomes controlled by that devotee. But even that love of Godhead can come by the mercy of the holy name of the Lord. Then he practices Krishna mantra as a type of a medicine which can relieve one from material distress. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also speaks. I have brought the medicine. Anichi Osati Maya, na Shivara Lage. Hare Krishna Mahamantra, lao tumi magi. So this holy name of the Lord is that medicine also. Medicine to remove and purify us of the material distress. So when we take shelter of such holy name of the Lord, and by mercy of the holy name, we can also try to become more pure and try to connect to Krishna. And days like Ekadasi, they are very special days, potent days, where we can offer our prayers to the holy name. We can do some extra efforts to chant the holy names, so that we can slowly and gradually can develop some attraction for the holy name. I was reading this book, Chant by Shivaram Swami Maharaj. So in that Maharaj was telling, don't you should try to chant 128 or 192 rounds on Ekadasi day. And devotees should not have any concern. If they try, very easily they'll be able to chant. So if you chant 192 rounds on Ekadasi day, then you can break out your mental boundaries. Like that he was telling. I have to try, I have not tried. आप में से किसी ने किया है 192 कभी? नहीं किया. हाईएस्ट कितना है आपका? कितना है? 60 हाईएस्ट है आपका? किसी का 100 क्रॉस किया? 100 आपका? 110. ठीक है, तो एक दिन 192 भी ट्राई करना. 192 के लिए लेकिन नाइट आउट करना पड़ेगा. 192. अच्छा. हाँ, वही कुछ नाइट आउट करना पड़ेगा तभी कर पाएंगे ना 192. बहुत मुश्किल है 192. मैंने तो एक बार ट्राई किया था, लेकिन नहीं कर पाया था. 192 बहुत मुश्किल है. हाँ, एनर्जी भी चाहिए, स्पीड भी चाहिए और माइंड भी चाहिए. लेकिन ग्रेजुअली आ सकते हैं. जैसे 64 अगर आप एकादशी पे कर रहे हो, फिर किसी एकादशी पे आपने अगर 100 किया या 128 किया, फिर धीरे धीरे करके कर सकते हैं. बट पॉइंट इज इफ समवन puts some extra efforts, then slowly, gradually, he can actually be blessed by the holy names of the Lord, and then he can make his life perfect. Hare Krishna. Yeah. हाँ, गौरांगपुर के नोट्स नहीं देखे आप लोगों ने? देखता हूँ, अगर मिलेंगे तो दिखाता हूँ. क्या हुआ? फिर चला गया. आ गया. अगेन. इसमें शायद गौरांगपुर के तो नहीं है, गौरांगपुर या पुर के लग रहे हैं. कहाँ गया? ये गौरांगपुर या पुर के नोट्स हैं. गौरांगपुर के भी ऐसे ही हैं. अभी इसमें नहीं, मेरे हार्ड डिस्क में रहेंगे वो. तो इस तरीके से भागवतम के उनके अच्छे अच्छे नोट्स ऐसे रहते हैं. मिल गया। तो ये देखो, ये अलग अलग जैसे पास्ट टाइम है, किंग भरत और विक्टिम ऑफ अफेक्शन, ऐसे अच्छा टाइटल भी देते हैं। देखा ना, स्टडी नोट्स ऑफ हिज ग्रेस। ये नोट जान के देना। तो ये अच्छी तरीके से उन्होंने वो कर रखा है। एक्टिविटीज ऑफ भरत, कैरेक्टर ऑफ किंग भरत, सुप्रीम, ये सब ऐसे। तो ये समझा रखा है कैरेक्टर एक्टिविटीज, डायग्राम वगैरह सब। एक्टिविटीज ऑफ भरत, सॉलिटरी, वाटर ऑफ द गंडकी रिवर, फूड टू द सुप्रीम लॉर्ड, हार्ट अनकंटेमिनेटेड, ऐसे वो अच्छा एनालाइज करके निकालते हैं सब। ये देखो, अपीयरेंस कैसा था, कर्ली हेयर थे, वेट थे, ड्रेस्ड थे, ब्यूटीफुल थे। ये भरत महाराज लेके जा रहे हैं, क्या क्या लेसन सीख सकते हैं इस एक्सीडेंट से। अच्छा है ना। ये देखो, कंपैशन, फॉरगेटफुलनेस। कंपैशन से कैसे उनको फॉरगेटफुलनेस आ गया। अच्छा डायग्राम बना रखा है। ये देखो, डियर, हेल्पलेस, लोनली, लॉस अरेंजमेंट, टोटल डिपेंडेंस, फेथ, साधका, सेल्फलेस, रेस, प्रोटेक्ट, ग्रेटिफाई, फॉन्डल, नॉट निग्लेक्ट, सिंपथी। ये भी सब। ये देखो, मिस्टेक मेड बाय महाराज भरत। आपने राजस्थान को एक स्लाइड देखा होगा ऐसा। हाँ, वो यहीं से। कंपैशन, निग्लेक्ट, अफेक्शन, अट्रैक्शन, डिस्ट्रैक्शन, एजिटेशन, एंग्जाइटी, लेमेंटेशन। अच्छा बना रखा है ना एकदम। एक औरंग का लेक्चर है, 8 स्टेजेस ऑफ फॉल डाउन। तो ये भरत महाराज से ही लिया है। तो ये अलग है, उनका एक अलग है, इसमें नहीं है। वो भी बहुत अच्छा है। तो ये, so like that when we go more deeper in the scriptures, like that we make point. Maharaj Bharat lay down with deer, walk with deer, bat with deer, ate with deer, bound in affection, take deer with him। तो अच्छा इस तरीके से। तो ऐसे उन्होंने हर चीज की नोट्स हैं देखो। ये श्रीमद भागवतम है, श्रीमद भागवतम, ये चैतन्य चरितमृत के उनके नोट्स हैं, अंत लीला, मध्य लीला। ये टू सिंह कृष्ण लीला, सब ऐसा है। बहुत सारे ना। हाँ, हाँ वही ना। अगले इससे बहुत एब्जॉर्प्शन होता है। जैसे मैंने रूप शिक्षा का पूरा पढ़ के बनाया था ना, पीपीटी जो लिया था यहाँ पर, याद होगा आपको ना। तो पीपीटी बनाने में मुझे टाइम लगा था, लेकिन ये पूरा सेक्शन पढ़ा, फिर इम्पोर्टेंट वर्सेस नोट किए, फिर पीपीटी बनाया, फोटो चुने। तो उससे क्या, वो सेक्शन बहुत वो हो जाता है। और ये मतलब बहुत अच्छा पीपीटी बना, ये कोविड टाइम में बनाया था। उस टाइम पे बाहर की सेवा नहीं कर पा रहे थे ना, तो बैठ के थोड़ा टाइम मिल गया था, तो अच्छी अच्छी फोटोज ढूंढ के डाली हैं, देखो एकदम अच्छा वाले। अच्छा निकल के आया था पीपीटी है। अभी मन करता है ऐसा कुछ बनाओ, लेकिन टाइम नहीं मिलता है। सो लाइक दैट वी शुड टेक सम प्रोजेक्ट। ये भी बनाया, नो अदर डिजायर, सिंपली वांटिंग टू प्लीज कृष्णा। तो अलग अलग एक्टिविटीज दिखा दी। ये फोटो भी अच्छा है देखो, ज्ञान। इसमें भी बहुत टाइम लगा था, ये भी मैंने भानु स्वामी महाराज जी का कोट किया उनकी कमेंट्री से, ईगराज महाराजा प्रभुपाद जी के साथ उनका कोट किया था। तो ऐसे बनाने से वो अच्छा रहता है। कोविड टाइम में मैंने 5-6 पीपीटी बनाए ऐसे। तो ऐसे कुछ आप अपना बनाओगे तो डिटेल में जाओगे तो अच्छा है। तो ये देखो ये स्टेजेस कितने अच्छे समझा भी रखे हैं। ये जो स्टेज इसमें दिखा रखे हैं ना, पहले सिंपैथी है, फिर sacrificing the original interest, then increased affection by association, then attachment increased due to childish behavior, then distraction, then agitation, then anxiety, then lamentation। एक ही वर्ड से 15 उसके अलग अलग वर्ड लेके बता रहे हैं, अति तर्शेन विहार विह्वल ऐसा करके। वर्ड 16, आई एम नेग्लिजेंट, डियर हैज नोबल हार्ट। तो अलास करके बोलते हैं ना वो, तो बताते हैं, उसको समझा रखा है। तो ये देखो महाराज भरत इन इल्यूजन, एक्सेप्टिंग डियर एज प्रिंस, डूइंग फॉलोइंग मेडिटेशन, एंजॉयिंग डियर, एग्जिबिटिंग एंग्री लव, ये सब बता रखा है। खास करके आप लोग इंटेलेक्चुअल डिवोटीज है ना, तो उनके लिए और इम्पोर्टेंट है। अब आप सोचिए कितना एब्जॉर्ब थे डियर में, इसलिए डियर बन गए। अब यही अगर भगवान के लिए एब्जॉर्प्शन रहता तो डियर की जगह भगवान उनको आते हैं। अभी आप लोग देखिए, अगर आपका भी मृत्यु होगा तो ऐसे कौन आएगा आपके जिंदगी में, तो वही आपका अगला जन्म होगा। कहीं ऐसा कंपनी का नाम आ जाए फिर अगर कोई चूहा बनेंगे इसके अंदर। तो वो देखना है, क्योंकि जहां एब्जॉर्प्शन है वही आपका बॉडी जो है वैसा शेप लेगा। तो एब्जॉर्प्शन जो है हमको देखना पड़ेगा। अभी ये प्रोसेस सेम है, जैसे इन्होंने डियर के साथ में एब्जॉर्प्शन और अटैचमेंट डेवलप किया, वैसे ही भगवान के साथ में कर सकते हैं, वैसे ही प्योर डिवोटीज के साथ में कर सकते हैं, वैसे ही भागवतम के साथ में कर सकते हैं ऐसा है। या वैसे ही मटेरियल चीजों, किसी का एब्जॉर्प्शन मूवी देखने में हो सकता है तो बार बार मूवी देखेगा, किसी का एब्जॉर्प्शन स्पोर्ट्स में हो सकता है तो स्पोर्ट्स ही रहेगा, किसी का एब्जॉर्प्शन खाने में रह सकता है तो खाने की सोचता रहेगा, ऐसा है। तो स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ में एब्जॉर्प्शन बनाने के लिए हमको थोड़ा मेहनत करना पड़ेगा, और ये बहुत अच्छी मेहनत है, क्योंकि इसमें आपका इंटेलिजेंस भी लग रहा है और आप थोड़ा एनालिटिकल भी हो, तो हमको थोड़ा अच्छा भी लगता है, अरे मैंने देखो एक अच्छा पॉइंट निकाल लिया, डायग्राम बना दिया, ये कर दिया, वो कर दिया, थोड़ा अच्छा भी लगता है ना ऐसा करके। तो फिर उससे आप खुश भी हो जाते हो आगे भी बढ़ते हो ऐसा करके, तो अच्छा रहता है। जब नए टीचर कोई क्लास देता है ना तो वैसा रहता है। एक बार एक नया टीचर क्लास दे रहा था, तो उसने कुछ तो एनालॉजी कोट किया, तो प्रभु ये एनालॉजी आपने कहाँ से लिया? अरे कहीं से नहीं लिया, बनाया मैंने। तो ऐसा बोलने में बहुत अच्छा लगता है, क्रिएट किया है लेकिन ऑब्वियसली परंपरा में रहना चाहिए। देखो ये भी इतना अच्छा बना है, ओवर ईटिंग, स्लीप मोर देन रिक्वायर्ड, देन सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन, डिग्रेडेशन टू लोअर फॉर्म। ये परफेक्ट में गुप्ता जी ने लिखा होगा, तो उसको उन्होंने ऐसे डायग्राम में बना दिया ऐसा। एसोसिएशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। ऐसा करके उन्होंने बताया। ये देखो कितना बड़ा बनाया। Vamana, dynasty of Angira, mind and sense control, study the Vedas, satisfied, tolerant, charitable, learned, this. Two wives, first wife, 9 sons, second wife, 10 brothers and sister, then भरत महाराज, ये बता रखा है इनका। दूसरा क्या है, अगर आप कोई सेक्शन डीप में पढ़ते हो, खैर पहली बार तो आपको वैसे ही पढ़ना चाहिए, उसके बाद सेकंड बार रीडिंग करते हो तो डीप में पढ़ना चाहिए, तो उससे क्या है आप जो है बहुत अच्छी तरीके से वो कर पाओगे। ये देखो ये ब्रह्मचारी के बारे में भी आया है इसमें। पिताजी के प्रबोध में ऐसे बहुत अच्छे अच्छे जेम्स हैं बीच बीच में। मिसट्रीटमेंट, जो जड़ भरत के साथ मिसट्रीटमेंट हुआ वो सब है। Like that he would make before. नहीं, अभी पहली बार में तो आप जस्ट रीड करो जैसा आप पढ़ रहे हैं, और जो परपोर्ट में अच्छा पॉइंट लगता है उसको आप टिक मार्क कर सकते हैं, और पीछे इंडेक्सिंग कर सकते हैं। आपको कुछ थीम आया, चैरिटी के ऊपर थीम आया, पीछे लिख सकते हैं चैरिटी पेज नंबर्स, ऐसा कर सकते हैं। जब सेकंड टाइम आप पढ़ेंगे तो जो पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन है वो अच्छी तरीके से पढ़ सकते हैं। फिर उसका जो परपोर्ट है, प्रभुपाद जी उसको कैसे एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं वो कर सकते हैं। फिर प्रभुपाद जी ने उसी वर्ष पे लेक्चर्स में क्या क्या बोला है वो देख सकते हैं। अभी किताब आई है, आपने देखा होगा, भगवत गीता के हर वर्ष पे प्रभुपाद जी के लेक्चर का ट्रांसक्रिप्ट है। नहीं देखा आपने? देखा? हाँ, अभी ये हाँ राइट, मायापुर में मैं भी देखा, बहुत अच्छी किताब है। गीता के हर वर्ष पर प्रभुपाद जी का ट्रांसक्रिप्ट है लेक्चर का, तो वो कर सकते हैं ऐसा करके। तो ये डीप है, और फिर उस पर सोच सकते हैं ये वर्ष जो है व्हाट ही इज ट्राइंग टू स्पीक, और ये प्रभुपाद जी से जो आपने परपोर्ट पढ़ा वो पढ़ा, उसके हिसाब से देख सकते हैं इसका प्रीटिंग प्रैक्टिकल एप्लीकेशन क्या है, प्रीचिंग एप्लीकेशन क्या है, इससे क्या नॉलेज मिल रहा है, इसका अंडरस्टैंडिंग क्या है। ऐसे 8-9 पॉइंट होते हैं। ये है देखिए, नॉलेज स्किल्स एंड वैल्यूज, इससे क्या है वो आता है। नॉलेज मीन्स बहुत अच्छा पॉइंट है, फिलॉसफी है, तो उसको याद रख सकते हैं। अंडरस्टैंडिंग मीन्स एक पर्टिकुलर कंसेप्ट है, वो है। पर्सनल एप्लीकेशन, पर्सनल एप्लीकेशन। प्रीचिंग एप्लीकेशन, प्रीचिंग एप्लीकेशन, प्रीचिंग में उसको यूज कर सकते हैं। फिर मूड एंड मिशन, कि प्रभुपाद जी ये चाहते हैं, दिस इज रिप्रेजेंटिंग इस्कॉन में। फिर वैष्णव इंटीग्रिटी, जो वैष्णव का सदाचार है उसमें क्या होना चाहिए, वैसी कल्चर एंड एटिकेट, और वैष्णव क्वालिटीज। बेसिकली लास्ट के 3 जो है वो वैष्णव क्वालिटी से रिलेटेड है। तो ऐसा करके आप जो है उसमें फिर रिफ्लेक्ट कर पाते हो। दूसरा क्या है, हर डिवोटी का एक अलग अलग एबिलिटी भी आ जाता है कंटेम्पलेशन का। तो आप में से कुछ लोग जो है कुछ पढ़ेंगे तो तुरंत जो है कुछ रिफ्लेक्शन आ जाएगा, कुछ उसका वो आ जाएगा। तो धीरे धीरे करके होता है वो, ऐसा। लेकिन जब आप थोड़ा डिटेल पढ़ते हो ना प्रभुपाद जी के परपोर्ट्स लेक्चर, तो और ज्यादा समझ में आता है। प्रभुपाद जी का ब्यूटी क्या है, आप प्रभुपाद जी का कोई लेक्चर सुना किसी पर्टिकुलर वर्ष में, वो क्या कहते हैं उसी वर्ष पे ही डीप जाते हैं। वो बार बार उसी का ही पॉइंट ले लेंगे फिर समझाएंगे, फिर पॉइंट ले लेंगे फिर समझाएंगे, तो बहुत अच्छा लेक्चर देता है। तो वर्ष के लिए समझने के लिए बहुत अच्छा है, ऐसा है। बाकी अभी आप लोग भक्ति शास्त्री अटेंड करेंगे तो उसमें अभी आप भक्ति शास्त्री की चारों किताबें डीप में पढ़िए। आपका भक्ति शास्त्री होगा, और उस भक्ति शास्त्री के साथ साथ आप भी डीप में पढ़िए। वो किताब आप लोगों को मिलेगा, लोग प्रू कुरियर करेंगे प्रभुपाद जी वाला, वो किताब पढ़ सकते हैं। सरेंडर टू मी जो है इसमें है ही, वेदा बेस में, वो पढ़ सकते हैं। गीता सुबोधनी आप लोगों को होगा ही, राइट? वो सफर कर सकते हैं। जब भक्ति शास्त्री करें तो डीप में पढ़ना चाहिए, गीता सुबोधनी है। तो ये आप लोगों को सब देंगे अभी भक्ति शास्त्री मटेरियल में, तो ये रेफर कर सकते हैं। तो फिर उसमें आप अपनी नोट्स बना सकते हैं, सेक्शन वाइज, नोट्स वाइज, एप्लीकेशन जैसे भी है, जिससे कि आप अपने लिए भी अप्लाई कर सकें और टीचिंग में भी आपको हेल्प होगा, ऐसा। और जब भी आप कुछ अप्लाई करते हो उससे जो रियलाइजेशन आते हैं उनको लिख लिया करो, चाहे आप फेल हुए या पास हुए या अच्छा साक्षात्कार हुआ, तो उसमें लिख लिया कीजिए। तो ऐसे धीरे धीरे करके आप जो है ग्रो होते हैं, ऐसा। ठीक है। धनंजय प्रभु का चैट में आया, should we refer His Grace Varankuru notes while studying Srimad Bhagavatam now? Not now. Currently, you can just read. But when second time you read, that time you can refer. So that time you can refer Subodhini also, and you can refer Gaurang Guru notes also. Like that you can do. Another thing is you have to make your own notes. You can refer other notes, बट एक्चुअली क्या रहता है ना, हर किसी का एक माइंड सेट अलग रहता है. हर किसी का लॉर्ड ने एक अलग इंटेलेक्चुअल कैपेसिटी दिया है, थॉट प्रोसेस दिया है. तो आप बाकियों के नोट रेफर करके समझ सकते हो, लेकिन जब तक आप खुद अपने नोट्स नहीं बनाओगे तो क्या है, आपको ना तो उसमें रसा आएगा, ना मजा आएगा उनको पढ़ने में, और ना उसको उतना ज्यादा रिकलेक्ट कर पाओगे. अब क्या उन्होंने अपने थॉट प्रोसेस के हिसाब से बनाया, तो मैं जनरली क्या करता हूँ, रेफर करता हूँ फिर अपने नोट्स बनाता हूँ. उससे क्या रहता है, इट बिकम्स इजी फॉर मी, लाइक दैट. तो हर किसी का थॉट प्रोसेस अलग अलग रहता है. जैसे मेरा थॉट प्रोसेस में सबसे ज्यादा क्या है, सिंप्लिसिटी है. ये मेरा एक थॉट प्रोसेस है. जब भी कोई प्रोजेक्ट का प्लानिंग होता है, कुछ होता है, तो मैं क्या करता हूँ, उसको बहुत सिंप्लीफाई कर देता हूँ. वो मेरा एक स्ट्रेंथ है. तो वैसे जो नोट्स वगैरह करते हैं बहुत सिंप्लीफाई कर देता हूँ. तो वो जो मैं उसको देखता हूँ तो मेरे लिए बहुत इजी हो जाता है उसको रिकलेक्ट करना, अप्रिशिएट करना, ऐसा. लेकिन कुछ डिवोटीज का थॉट प्रोसेस क्या रहता है, वो बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स करते हैं, लेकिन उनके लिए वो सिंपल है. तो वो क्या है, आपको देखना पड़ेगा आपका कैसा है. बट यू रेफर नोट्स, रीड एंड देन मेक योर ओन नोट्स. अगर आप प्रीचिंग करना चाहते हैं तो फिर कल को आप क्या अच्छा प्रीचिंग कर सकते हैं. और आप बहुत ही अच्छे हैं इसमें तो फिर यू कैन राइट योर ओन बुक्स. अगर बहुत ही गिफ्टेड हैं भगवान के द्वारा, बहुत एकदम टेबल वगैरह निकल रहे हैं आपके चेतना से, और एकदम रेफरेंस कनेक्शन हो रहा है, तो आप भी लिख देना. कुछ अलग नाम करना पड़ेगा बस. अभी गीता सुबोधनी तो हो गया, आप भी कुछ लिख देना ऐसा. गहरा ज्ञान नहीं, हंसने की बात नहीं है. डिवोटीज कैन राइट. अगर आप में भगवान ने दिया है टैलेंट तो उसको यूज कर सकते हैं. जो भी हमको भगवान ने दिया है, अगर उसको हम भगवान की सेवा में यूज नहीं करेंगे तो वही टैलेंट हमारे विनाश का कारण बन जाएगा. इसलिए हिचकिचाना नहीं चाहिए. अगर आपको बोलना आता है तो भगवान के लिए बोलो, गाना आता है भगवान के लिए गाओ, लिखना आता है भगवान के लिए लिखो, इसमें गलत नहीं है. ऐसा चेतन चंद्र डेली लिखते रहते हैं, लिखते रहते हैं, लिखते रहते हैं. तो वैसे हमको भी करना चाहिए. जो आपकी क्षमता है, जो नेचुरल एबिलिटी है, उसको हार्नेस कर सकते हो. जो आपकी नेचुरल एबिलिटीज हैं उनको हार्नेस करने में मजा भी आता है और इंटरेस्ट भी रहता है. जैसे किसी को सिंगिंग आता है तो बाय डिफॉल्ट जब फ्री टाइम मिलेगा वो नई ट्यून सीखेगा, कुछ ट्राई करेगा, क्योंकि उसको मजा भी आता है ना. तो वैसे ही आपकी जो नेचुरल एबिलिटीज हैं उस डायरेक्शन में एनर्जी डालेंगे तो बहुत इजी हो जाता है. ऐसा क्योंकि उसमें आपको आनंद भी आता है, मजा भी आता है, और रिजल्ट भी आता है उसमें, क्योंकि आप एक्सपर्ट हो तो अच्छा भी लगता है. ऐसा. ठीक है. ओके. On Saturday, we'll discuss on this. Chetan Chanpu took very nice topic on this verse 18.14. Adhisthanam karta karanam, that verse. So Saturday morning we'll discuss this verse. ये बहुत अच्छा है. तो इसमें प्रभु ने बहुत अच्छा समझाया था. There are 5 reasons for result. Adhisthanam, karta, Krishna, and Devam. So out of them, 3 can be changed and 2 are fixed. तो क्या फिक्स्ड है, क्या चेंज कर सकते हैं? हाँ? और परमात्मा कहाँ लिखा है? देवम. ठीक है, देवम फिक्स्ड है, और चेष्टा चेंज कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. और कर्मम के बारे में. ओके. और कर्ता. हाँ, कर्ता कर्ता चेंज नहीं कर सकते, देवम नहीं कर सकते. अधिष्ठानम, कर्म और चेष्टा चेंज कर सकते हैं. तो उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा समझाया था. मे बी सैटरडे वी विल डिस्कस दैट व्हेन अदर फाइनल ईयर डिवोटीज आल्सो विल अटेंड. है ना. हरे कृष्ण. श्री प्रभुपाद.